Hey everyone, welcome back to Got Fishing Podcast Season 2. I'm really excited about this season. Last year was amazing. We learned a lot along the way. Hopefully, we brought some good content. This season, we're going to change things up just a little bit and bring on just slightly different guests and really focus on service, perseverance, success. And a lot of these fishing podcasts, are talking about tips and tricks in the water. We're going to talk more about tips and tricks in life and different things to get involved in and different ways of persevering and having success in life that you may not necessarily be thinking about. So to kick off season 2, really excited to bring on the guests or the founders, our guests and the founders of the Mayfly Project. The Mayfly Project, just really quick, tell you a little bit about it. We got involved in the Mayfly Project probably almost a year ago. And how that happened was our team at Got Fishing decided that we really wanted to participate in a higher level of service. We've been helping out with different projects and different nonprofit organizations and love doing that stuff. But there's that saying out there that says, your success is in direct proportion to your service. And we really believe that. And we believe that, we were only serving a little bit here and there, and that we really, if we wanted to have a successful company, we needed to get involved in some projects and that were truly giving back. And in any way to sustain something over the long term is to get involved in something that is near and dear to your heart or something that you resonate with. So our team, Carrie and Tara, went out and took a look at some different projects and organizations out there that were doing cool stuff and found the Mayfly Project. And everything about the Mayfly Project just kind of checked all of our boxes. And the more we learned about it, it just kind of felt like there was a real synergy here, which we'll kind of get into why that is. But the Mayfly Project's focus is on foster kids, getting them out into the water and teaching them this really cool skill called fly fishing. And it's not one of those projects where a lot of organizations, which I think are amazing, where they take people fishing for the day and just get them out in the outdoors. This is that on steroids. This organization, it's a 5-step process where they really are getting the kids involved from here's your fly rod, here's how you get it set up, going to different bodies of water and teaching them about picking up trash, different insects, respecting the water. I'm really truly getting them engaged in this and then putting them on fish and then watching them, kind of go from the first session to the last session is incredible. And to watch the attitudes change from day 1 to day 5, from not trusting to trusting is really incredible. And so to watch and to kind of see what these guys were doing, we're like, we got to get involved. So we reached out to them, and since then it's been a great relationship. We've been able to do a few things for these guys, but also more importantly, on the financial side, we've been able to get involved personally. And I signed up to be a mentor. Probably one of the better things that I've done in my life, because really truly got to hang out with some amazing people, some amazing kids that have absolutely, you talk about the definition of perseverance. These kids are incredible. What they've had to go through at such a young age is absolutely, it's mind blowing. In some of these instances, we all run around thinking that we've got a tough day and we've got really nothing to complain about when you've gone and hung out with some of these kids and what they've been through. So I'm really excited to introduce the founders, Kaitlin Barnhart and Jess Westbrook of the Mayfly Project. Welcome to our show, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for having us, for sure.
Absolutely. So I obviously think you guys have a great program and an organization. But let's tell everybody a little bit about how did the Mayfly Project get started?
Yeah, so I'll try to keep this short and sweet, Brian, because otherwise we'll be on here for an hour. But I've fly fished my entire life. I think the first picture I have of me catching a fish on a fly rod was when I was 6 years old. I'm just like a Polaroid picture, right? Like I have a mullet, my dad's smoking a cigarette, classic, early 90s, late 80s picture. Fly fished my entire life. I've got in Alaska, done all kinds of things, but it wasn't until my first son Case was born 9 years ago that I started using fly fishing as a healing tool. So probably like 2 weeks before Case was born, there was a guy who I really looked up to. He had a fishing show. He was a local guide here in Arkansas, master casting instructor. Invited me to go fishing with him, and So I went with him right before Case was born, and then after Case was born, I started experiencing like crazy anxiety. Like, I was missing work. I lost like 30 pounds. Like it was really, really intense. And when Chris would ask me to go fishing with him, I would go, right? Because I looked up to Chris, like, I was like, man, there is like something to this, like I said, every time I got on the water, I felt, lighter. I had zero anxiety, zero stress, so, I was like, man, there's something to this. And I was talking to my wife, Laura, and I was like, man, I really want to give back, using fly fishing. I just don't really know how. And one Sunday at church, some people came and they were talking about foster kids. And I looked at Laura and I was like, that's what I want to do. Is I want to take foster kids, And so, so we started reaching out to people. Oddly enough, I just got off the phone with the first lady that kind of like took us under her wing and helped us. It was an organization called The Call. And, so it was just Laura and I, we were taking foster kids and, we were like, man, this is super cool. We had, I was like, let's like make this an actual thing, And so we it's funny. Everybody always asks like, where did the Mayfly Project name come from? And I tried to have like this real in-depth story of like, oh, well, and really we were trying to come up with an acronym for Mayfly, like mentoring at-risk youth through fly fishing, love, and we couldn't come up with a Y part. And so we're on our way to Thanksgiving and Laura was like, yeah, what about the Mayfly Project? And I was like, man, it sounds like a great name. So we filed for our 501c3 and, we got it back like 30 days later. So December 2015, we became an official nonprofit, but didn't really have like a mission or, we didn't really know where we were going with it, right? Like we knew we wanted to take kids. We knew we wanted to take foster kids. We didn't really know where we were going with it. So, we were supplying gear to kids and doing all kinds of stuff. And so I told Laura, I was like, hey, let's get a logo. You know what I mean? And I actually like almost got divorced over our logo, right? Because like, we had to come up with the logo like out of our own pocket. And we hired Andrea Larco to do our logo and, designed it, got it all done and it hit social media. And Kaitlin, oddly enough, was like the first person to reach out to me. And she was like, hey, Jess, like, I've taken foster kids in the past, I'm from Idaho. And like, there's all these like weird, like, things, like Kate has 3 kids. Like we both got it on Lake Iliamna in Alaska. We both had torn our ACL twice, like all these like weird things. We both played college sports, like all these weird symmetries, right? Like our spouses are like, oh man, y'all are like the same person, just, she's a female and I'm a male, So Kate reached out and was like, hey, Jess, I've done this in the past in Idaho. Like I'd love to, let's join forces. And I was like, Kate, I don't think anybody's going to like want to do this, right? Like, I mean, this just isn't going to be a thing, And so anyway, so Kate and I kind of talked back and forth. And yeah, started developing, TMP. Like I said, Kate came on probably 6 months after we'd started. And, we kind of developed everything together, right? Like I have a business, accounting, finance background. Kate has a mental health background. So that's kind of how everything got formed and how how everything started to take off.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so it was super cool.
So where were your first projects located?
So my wife and I were taking kids in Arkansas, right? But then like the first projects as the Mayfly Project was in Arkansas and then in Idaho too, in Coeur d'Alene.
Coeur d'Alene, yeah.
And then people started hearing about us and were messaging us like, hey, we want to bring this here. And we were shocked at first. We were like, oh, that's cool. Like somebody else wants to do this. And so at the beginning, we were like, yes, please. Like, let's do this. And then next thing you knew, we had like so many people wanting to do it. So we kind of like had to structure Mayfly Project pretty quickly just to make sure it was safe for kids and make sure it's sustainable and all that. So it was a ton of work on the front end, just getting everybody organized. But it was really cool. I think, Jess, you probably agree just at the beginning, hearing from so many people that were like, yes, we want to do this. And we're like, you guys want to volunteer to do this? That's so awesome. So yeah, and today, I mean, we get emails all week long of people that want to support kids this way. So it's a really awesome community, the fly fishing world. Like they've really blessed us. So it's been a cool ride for sure.
How many projects are operating right now?
I think we'll have close to 70 this next year. So, and then we're in the United Kingdom now too. We started another nonprofit there. So yeah, it's just kind of blown up. We only take 5 new project starts a year now just to keep it sustainable. We do get a lot of applications, so we're kind of picking like the best of the best now of just like the location, the need, the lead there that can run it, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's been really neat to see.
Which leads me to the next question. These are not easy to run. And I think, what I've noticed from the very beginning is that each one of these projects kind of has a different nuance. And if you could talk a little bit about what's been some of the struggles that you guys have at the different projects, like finding kids, finding money, finding mentors. What's been some of the struggles that you guys have had in growing this? Because obviously it's taking off. I mean, it's meant to be.
Yeah, I'll say like the biggest struggle on my side, like I do mostly like project management, like getting leads going, like finding kids, all of that. I think our biggest struggle is really tapping into the foster care system. These kids are very protected. Caseworkers are really maxed out trying to place kids and move families around, and so we really rely on the communities to like find kids. So we work with like CASA and like all like different programs that support foster families. So when we start a new project, that really is the hardest part because we're like, hey, we want to take kids fishing, and they're like, why do you want to take kids fishing? And so then we have to convince people like fly fishing is the coolest thing ever. And then, but once they really like experience the project with us, then it's super easy after that because they tell everyone like this is the best thing ever for these kids. So it's just kind of that first year that is the toughest usually. But Jess, what else do you?
Yeah, I think
That's the toughest.
yeah, no, that's totally right, Kate. I think that our hurdles fluctuate. Right? Like there's been, there was one time where we had issues keeping up with all our mentors, right? Well, now that's pretty easy because we hired somebody to build a back end system to track everything. You know what I mean? So as we grow and as we expand, like our hurdles seem to change, and go up and down. So yeah, we always had that hurdle of finding kids and starting the project. You know what I mean? But like I said, now we have hurdles of like, okay, there's 70 people and there's there's 4 of us, right, that are communicating to these 70 people. And so, went on vacation last week and came back and had 300 emails, right? So, juggling all of these things, like it's, it changes all the time, all the time.
Well, I couldn't imagine 70 projects with all the mentors, all the kids, all the gear. That's really a heavy load to be carrying. Going back to the logo though, real quick. I mean, the logo is amazing. I mean, it's a first class logo. You guys really crushed that. But what was really impressive was, for me anyway, when you look at organizations that, again, back to, a lot of it's really good intended. But I think a lot of them kind of miss that back end, that professionalism side of things, and what I was really impressed our whole team was with how professional you guys, your literature, the handbooks, the swag. I mean, everything is just top shelf and really done in a fun way. All of your handbooks are done in such a cool way. So I really appreciate the thoughtfulness, and the time that you guys have put into that, because I think that, when people are wanting to find out about the Mayfly Project, such as some social workers or these organizations that might be a little skeptical, I would have to think that what you guys have as a website and the literature and the materials and the things that the stuff that people are saying about you guys certainly helps bring a lot of trust to the situation.
Yeah, for sure. It's getting easier for sure because of that. And then I think eventually we'll be able to have caseworkers just recommend us to other states too, so it's definitely getting easier in that way.
What are the long-term goals? I mean, obviously, I love, Jess, how this just started at church, and I love that you went out and got your 501c3 before even really having a mission, or just kind of plan. And I think we would all agree that when something's meant to be, things just happen like that, right? You just got to kind of get in the water, and things start to happen. So I love the fact that you just kind of dove in and now went from a couple projects to over 70 projects and in another country. Where does this stop? What's the end game with the Mayfly Project?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, right? And like $1 million question. So, for the Mayfly Project as a whole, we focus on quality, not quantity, right? So, like just like you said, Mr. Brian, we've spent tons of time in our curriculum and in our handbooks and on our website and tons of money and
Yeah.
trademarking dollars and all of these things, right, to develop it. So, like, with us, like, we just want to create sustainable projects, right? Like, so around the country, which is the reason why, like Kate said, we only start 5, is just to make sure that we do a good job training the mentors. We want these projects to be self-sustaining and continue to grow. So obviously, like, I'll say, how do I say this? Like, overall goals, obviously, we want to be in all the states, and taking Mayfly Project from one country to another was definitely weird. Like, I know Kate got an email this week about Canada, and we were like, we're just going to need a hot minute, So
Maybe in 10 years.
yeah, so obviously expanding to other countries, but again, like, you have to set up whole other nonprofits. Like, it's a whole ordeal. It's not just like, oh yeah, here's the UK logo and run with it. It's definitely different. So, for me, like, I always, the way I picture it happening is, like, I will feel like the Mayfly Project is successful when it no longer runs without Jess and Kaitlin, right? Like, in my opinion, like, you get nonprofits, especially small nonprofits, because we're a small nonprofit, and you get founders that have founder syndrome, which is a thing. And so for me, like, the Mayfly Project to be board run, just like it's supposed to be. We have a board, but we're trying to get them more involved. But yeah, I think, like, the moment it's self-sustaining without Jess and Kaitlin, like, that's when I think, like, that we've done what we're supposed to do. In my opinion, like, that's the end goal, right? Is to create a self-sustaining organization that is doing great things, obviously, and making a huge impact, but that runs like it should.
I think that's, kind of ties into the definition of success of a business, right? A startup business takes the owner, takes that initial group to really be on it every day, all day, and finally, you got a successful business that runs and operates when you're able to step away from it, and have created the team that can make it happen. So, speaking a little bit about the team that you guys have been growing, tell us a little bit about. I really enjoyed going through the mentor part of it, and getting signed up, and all of the things all the requirements that were required of me in order to become a mentor. And I especially think, in this day and age, with all of the stuff that we've got going on as it relates to kids, tell us a little bit about that, and what the requirements to become a mentor with you guys.
Yeah, so mentors, they have to go through a background check and interview process and reference check. We would just want to make sure that they're in it for the right reasons. First of all, like, a lot of people, not a lot of people, but we definitely get people that are like, oh, this will look so good on my resume to be a part of the Mayfly Project. And that's definitely, we want people that are there for these kids and understand that people don't show up for these kids very often. Like, they need people that are consistent and that are there just to really speak to our mission. And so, so we go through an interview process, and then mentors are required to join, like, all 5 of our outings. So if it seems like they can't join all 5, then we'll put them in a different role instead of working directly with the kid. Just because these kids have had so much abandonment by adults in their lives. So we really don't want that to happen. We want it to be a success. And you'd be surprised how important that is to these kids. Like, kids will come, like, our second outing, and they'll be like, oh, you guys came back, like, you're here again with me. And we're like, yeah, we're here again. So I think even just mentors showing up for these kids is a lot more than what you would expect. I mean, Jess always says, like, it's about fly fishing, but it's not about fly fishing at all, really. It's about getting these kids out, getting some experience, learning how to de-stress outdoors, being able to rely on, or have positive experiences with adults. And so, yeah, mentors play the biggest role in that. And so, and our leads, we rely on our leads for all of that too. Like, they're really great at just making sure they have the right people and that everyone is moving in the same direction.
Right.
So, yeah.
I do remember in our first conversation, you stressing that, most important thing was showing up to all, all sessions. And yeah, I think, we had a unique situation in our group up in Coeur d'Alene where that ended up really hitting home with a kid that ended up showing up and was looking for us to make, was so excited to come fishing with us. And luckily, the team was there. And yeah, but it really hit home the message that you had given at the beginning that it's very important to be showing up. And I think that the more you show up, especially I've really reflected on this, that the more you show up, the more they count on you. So it's kind of like, there isn't ever a time that you can skip it, but it certainly isn't the third, fourth, or fifth time after you've, created that relationship with these kids, and they're now counting on you. So it's really goes so far beyond the actual fishing, and so it was awesome to see that firsthand and how important it was to these kids.
That was the best example I think I've seen in the Mayfly Project yet, because Brian drove like 3 hours to get to the outing that morning or something crazy. It was like, you're a wild man. But anyways, the kiddo showed up and his leg was broken, and he'd been in the ER the night before and told his adopted dad, like, I'm going to have to fish with Brian. I need to fish with Brian tomorrow. I need to fish with Brian. And so they made sure that he made it there. And so it was just like so amazing to see him like catching fish. And I think everyone was a little teary just seeing like, how special and how much he loved Brian and wanted to like be there to fish with Brian. They didn't say anything about catching fish, nothing. It was like, I want to fish with Brian tomorrow. So that's like the best example of why we do this and how much it means to these kids, so it was awesome.
When he came out of the van with that broken leg, I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
And again, I think there's so many kids out there that would have allowed that broken leg to, obviously I'm not going fishing, but a kid, cut from this kind of cloth that's used to persevering through things. And this is nothing, like, let's go. And it was just really awesome to see his toughness and to be there for it. And carrying him, we got to, the other mentor and I, hauled his wheelchair down to the river. And yeah, it was as good a day for me as it was for him, and maybe better. So I'll never forget it. He probably already has, but yeah,
I doubt it.
It's super, important that people getting involved realize that, yes, you do get a kickback from this. Like, you do feel good at the end of the day, but it's all about the kids, and it's all about making sure that even if you're 3 hours away or you've got other plans on a Saturday, you've really got to make sure that you're putting this first, and it's worth it.
Yeah. Sure. And some of our mentors too, like sometimes we have kids that just because of their experience with people in the system and abandonment, like they don't express emotion very well, so even sometimes when we don't see them like expressing thankfulness or joy, like we do get to see, like when you're catching a fish, like you smile, like it's so hard not to smile. And so we get rewards in different ways sometimes, like just even seeing a kid smile when they don't smile at us, but seeing them smile like means the world. And that's how we know we're doing a good job, is just they get to take a break and you get to see that change. Like you've seen it, Brian, where they show up, they're nervous, they're like kind of like, sometimes we get older teens that are like, this is stupid, what are we doing here? And then once they start catching fish and even just casting, like they really do turn into just kids on a river just having fun. So I think that's the most rewarding part of all of it, for me at least.
I would agree. It's fun to see what some of the kids look like on day one, stoic, not smiling, untrusting what's going on here, versus day 5 and everybody's squirting each other and high-fiving and eating hamburgers together. It's just, really awesome deal. So, so how do someone who's listening to this is like, I want to learn more about it, and how would I find a project in and around me that's already going that I can participate in? Tell us a little bit about how someone would go about getting involved in one of the projects.
Yeah, so you can, so anybody listening can just go to the mayflyproject.com. And so on there, we have a tab that says Get Involved, and you can look, there's like an interactive map. And so you can click on those projects and you can see when they were started, and you can actually apply through that link right there. So just going to our website's probably the best way to apply. If you can't find the website for some reason, reach out on social media, on Instagram or Facebook, and we can get you involved. So you have to go to the website, fill out that application. But I like to say if you have issues finding it, like I say, reach out and we can get somebody plugged in for sure.
One of the other things I really like about this project that we probably should mention is that on day 5, all of these kids walk away with all of the gear that they would need to continue to go fishing. They leave with a fly rod, reel, a line, super cool, a sling bag. I was really impressed with the sling bags they got. And that sling bag is filled with everything that they would need, flies and floatant. It was really an impressive setup. Talk to us a little bit about and maybe give a shout out to some of the sponsors that have been, hooking you guys up. I know Cortland and Orvis and some of these have really been big participants, but there's others that have really come together to put this amazing package together.
Yeah, totally. So, when we started, for us, it was important to make sure that the kids, got everything they needed, right? Because you're in the foster system. Also when I was an auditor when I got out of college, right? And so even when I would travel, I'd always take my fly rod with me. So I kind of that same thing, no matter where the kids get sent in the foster care system, they can always have their fly rod with them, right? And so that's kind of the whole, it's almost like not a security blanket, right? But they can always find home on the river, and so outfitting them with everything is always so important. Every once in a while we'll get I'm not going to say some feedback that's oh, well, why are y'all spending so much money outfitting these kids? And we're like, well, I totally get that some of the kids won't use it, right? But there are some kids, we have numerous examples from different states about mentors walking up the river and seeing a kid from last year fishing with their adoptive parents, and so for us that's super important to just make sure they leave with something that's their own. And so those kids also probably been we also give them all brand new stuff, right? So and that's real important, right? Everybody remembers unwrapping taking the plastic off of the cork of your fly rod, right? That's always a fun feeling, everybody needs that feeling. So it's really important that it's all new too, and it's not just gear that's used. And
I totally agree. Very very service minded for sure. And you guys have an impressive arsenal of organizations and other groups that you guys have associated yourself with to provide these kids really an exceptional package at the end. And I agree. That's one of the things that I thought about when I saw is that some of these kids, some of these aren't necessarily going to get used again, but it's really not the point. It's the introduction of the sport, and how many kids that I have met in the outdoors and I'll hear the stories of, when my grandpa used to take me, or when my neighbor, it was someone had to introduce them into the outdoors for them to get a sense of what the outdoors will do for them. And even though their life may today not be conducive to getting back into the outdoors next week, next month, even for a couple of years, it's been introduced. It's been introduced in an impactful way multiple times. And so, and fly rods don't go bad. They can always grab that fly rod in a couple of years and get back out there and give it a whirl. So I think it's amazing. And I think if, 4 of 10 take this thing and it really becomes an aspect of their life to help them get through the day, or, just get centered, give 20 of them away that get thrown away if it would have, impact 3 or 4 for a lifelong. So I was really, really impressed with, again, what I love about you guys is obviously the mission, of course, but all of the little things. I always preach that in my businesses is that, success comes from not just the big idea, but it's all the little things within that idea that really, make it something special. And from the logo to the instruction manuals and how thoughtful those are, to the partnerships you guys have to provide, these kids with such a cool package at the end, really is amazing. And I really can't say enough about you guys. I think that it's the time that I've had with you guys, Jess, you and I haven't met in person, but lots of times on the phone. And Kaitlin, you and I got to hang out numerous times this summer. And and even go fishing together, and even cooler than I thought. Yeah. And, just this too, I think with a lot of people, these founders of these cool organizations, you guys are just normal, cool people that are really wanting to, have an impact on these kids' lives, and you're doing it. And so I was really, really excited to be a part of it. But in all honesty, I always say this, people laugh, but I'm more impressed than I was when I started. And I was impressed when I started, I wouldn't have got my company or myself involved in this, and wouldn't have wanted other people. We've had one of the coolest stories I'll tell real quick is we did a little campaign for you guys where, we were there for, I think it was through the end of the year, every trip that we sold, a portion that was going to sponsor some kids. And we woke up one morning and the goal had been met, and we hadn't sold all of the trips in order to get to that goal yet. And I don't remember if it was Tara or Carrie called and said, we've met our goal. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. And so when we looked, one of our clients had made a really nice donation. So I called him up and I said, I can't tell you, how much I appreciate. He had done it anonymously, but obviously, on the back end, you can always figure out who it was. And so I called him up and said, Brian, I mean, his name was Brian as well. That was absolutely so generous. And his comment was, no, thank you. Thank you for introducing me to the Mayfly Project. I've already signed up to become a mentor down in Texas with that group down there. And so he's like, thanks, this is something that I've been looking to get involved in. And this is an absolute perfect fit for me. He was just retiring. He's a younger guy too, who's just kind of had the opportunity to retire younger. And he's just looking to do, get into service projects. So I thought that was really, really cool. It wasn't just about the money that he had donated, but the impact that it's going to now have on his life, impacting other people's lives. And I think that's the message here at the end of the day, is that it really truly is about the kids. But, if you're looking to have your life changed, if you're looking to truly something that is going to make you feel better about, who you are just naturally, by having an impact on these kids, that's where I would recommend people not only get involved in the Mayfly Project if it's the right fit, but just getting involved in service to others. People talk about it. People dabble in it. It's funny how it doesn't become a little bit more addicting, because everybody says, gosh, it makes you feel so good when you give back, but yet we do it so little, right? I mean, it's in society, we've all had an opportunity to give back. We've all been in positions to kind of feel what that feels like to be outside of ourselves. And yet, so few of us go search another opportunity out. We wait for that opportunity to come, or we drop a couple bucks into a can at some place, or at Albertsons we're checking out. It says, would you like to give a few bucks? And you give $3 and you think, yeah, I'm all about serving here. It's like, there's different levels to this. And so, yeah, I highly recommend that people get out there and get involved, because what you guys are doing and what you're providing, not only for the kids, but for the mentors, the leads, everybody involved in the organization, I think that honestly, everybody wins here. And so real quick, as we kind of tie this up, tell us how people can get involved. Obviously, you guys are a small, even though there's 70 projects, anytime that you have that many projects going on, you have a lot of needs. And I know that in any kind of project, a lot of it's money. You need people involved, but the biggest thing you guys need right now is money. So for anybody who can, has a couple extra bucks, or that would like to, help you guys out, tell us a little bit about how they can do that.
Yeah, the cost per kid is about $780 per kid per project. So we really love it when people will commit to sponsoring a kid in a project, because that's for the whole season. It's amazing. That kid gets everything they need. And so if you're interested in donating to a specific project, you just go to our map and you can find a project closest to you and donate through there. If you want to get even closer involved, just reach out to Jess or I through email or website, and we can talk to you about special ways we can use your funds if you want to donate. There's lots of ways to get involved. We're always taking in-kind donations. We feed all of the kids that come to our projects, so we're always looking for local restaurants to donate. If you want to send Costco cards, anything like that is super helpful. But yeah, I think the biggest is just sponsoring kids. Is it just helps so much, and all of our leads do all of their own fundraising for their projects, and so anyone that can help with that or take a little of the load off of our leads so they can focus on the kids and the mentors, like that's just such a huge help. So yeah, that's mainly. Anything else, Jess, with that?
For every project, they have a fund set up, right? Like, so all the monies that they raise go into their fund, and they see all the pull sheets that come out along with, all the expenses associated with it. So we're super transparent with everybody. So to me, that's really important. Like, if you want to donate and you want your monies to stay in your state, like we can 100% make that happen, So
Great.
To me, that's kind of a big thing. Like, like I said, when your money is donated to us, it's going to go to kids in your local community, right? Because these kids, we all want to help our local community. Don't get me wrong, everybody I'm sure wants to give to the project in Benton, Arkansas, but it's special when it stays in your
Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Yeah.
Well, even like what Brian did, like after they raised funds for 3 kids or whatever, then he called me and he's like, what else can we do? And I was like, we need a trailer. And so he like got us a trailer, basically. Like we networked and got a trailer. So there's a lot of projects that don't have that kind of stuff yet, like trailers, like other safety equipment, all kinds of stuff. So even if it's not sponsoring a kid, like even just networking with people, to help that in that area, like trailers or canopies, or there's all kinds of stuff. So we can definitely be creative.
Yeah, great point. We work with a lot of companies as well. And so any companies that are out there, I think this is another great opportunity for them to get involved. But even maybe at a higher level, I know we have an auction coming up down in Arkansas. And even though this podcast, is going to be coming out before then, you do that every year. So tell us a little bit about that auction. It's obviously your guys' big fundraiser, but any outfitters that are listening or lodges or other experiences, artists, how can we participate at that level in helping you guys raise money for these auctions?
Yeah, so that's great, Brian. Yeah, we have a couple different things coming up. So we have our national fundraiser, which is held in Little Rock. And this year we have Hank Patterson coming. He promised us he's going to keep it clean. You know what I mean? Hank Patterson.
Everybody loves Hank.
Yeah, so we'll have, so it's kind of cool. We're going to have some live auction items there. We'll also have, we're testing this out this year. Like we're going to have 2 of our projects put on guide trips, right? Like, or have a guide donated trip. So basically like our projects can fundraise at our national fundraiser, right? So like, we got like California, we've got a few different states that have submitted, trips for that. So that's going to be cool because that's going to go straight to them. The monies that we're going to raise here, like help our new projects, so like any monies that are spent, we don't really tell people like, oh, if you don't have money, guess what? You can't get fly rods. You know what I mean? Like national obviously covers that. So, monies that we raise at this fundraiser are going to help cover that. We also have an event called the Buy a Fly event, which we started it's probably like 2017, where you can buy like flies, and you get free raffle tickets because you're not supposed to do online raffles. So you're buying flies and you're getting free raffle tickets. But yeah, so that's going to be that's a pretty cool thing. In the past, we've raffled off like adipose boats, black crafts, stuff like that. Like I don't really know what we're going to do this year. I've reached out to a couple boat companies and some bamboo rod makers and stuff like that. So that's another way. That'll be more of like a national thing. You know what I mean? That we'll put out on social media. We typically sell like 20,000 raffle tickets for that thing. Like we sell a bunch. So yeah, if anybody wants to get involved,
20,000 boxes of flies.
Yeah. We do so many flies. You know what I mean? So many flies. We have a lot of people who donate them back too. But it's we have one lady in this
great idea.
Like literally, like she has bought some serious raffle tickets in the past. She's like, I bet her fly boxes are amazing, right? They look better than mine for sure.
Right. Well, that is a great idea and a great way for people that are listening to this to be on the lookout and to get involved. Get some cool flies, get some raffle tickets, and an opportunity to win some really cool prizes. And again, at the end of the day, if you don't end up winning, you're getting something in return. So I think that's again just another win-win that you guys have created. So anything else? I mean, we've got auctions people can get involved in. We can get directly involved in helping out kids. I think we talked also about how you get signed up to be a mentor if this is near and dear to you. I guess lastly, if you're one of those people out there who's like, I'm totally into this. I've looked at their website. This feels near and dear to my heart, and there isn't a project near you. I think, like Kaitlin said, they're only bringing on 5 a year, but there's an application process for you to take a lead on something like that and create the 71st project here in the United States. So, and I know that we do have a few listeners like over in Argentina and some of these other countries. And, if there's any interest there, again, get a hold of us, get a hold of Kaitlin and Jess, and at least talk about, how something like that could be possible, because that'd be very, very cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're always excited to talk to people that want to bring Mayfly to their community for sure.
Yeah. Well, let's wrap this up because I think it's been awesome. And I really, really appreciate you guys. I'll be seeing you hopefully here soon, Kaitlin, and look forward to meeting you face to face, Jess, real soon. And all you listeners out there, we're not going to grow. People aren't going to see this if you don't help us out a little bit. So if you've enjoyed this podcast, please like it, and more importantly, share it. I think that's the big thing. If you've already subscribed, great. Share it and like the podcast. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and share this podcast so that the word gets out on such an amazing organization. And I just wanted to, again, thank you guys for taking the time to be on our podcast and share all of the cool stuff you guys have going on. So really appreciate you and everything you're doing.
You too. And thank you to Got Fishing for all you guys have done for us already. And just like walking the walk, like I say all the time about you guys, like doing the real work, showing up as mentors. Like we really appreciate what you guys do for us and our awesome trailer.
Again, it's a win-win for all of us. So I highly encourage anyone that's listening. Mayfly Project's near and dear to my heart. I think it's pretty cool. There's other organizations out there that are doing good stuff too. The big message here is get involved in stuff like this. So thank you guys. Look forward to seeing you on the river real soon.
Me too. Thanks, Brian.
Bye.